you ready to make technology work for you? Tune in to Act on Tech, the podcast where we break down the latest tech trends and show you how to boost your productivity at home and in your business. So, subscribe to Act on Tech today and visit alexcustomtech.com to see how we can take your business to the next level. That's Act on Tech, your guide to smarter tech for a smarter business. Alex Custom Tech, IT means integrity and trust.
Hello, thank you for joining us. Welcome to Act on Tech, where we talk all things technology and how you can use it to make your life more productive. Hello again, this is Alex of Alex Custom Tech, and today we're going to be talking about wireless mesh. Okay, you guys may or may not be familiar with the word wireless mesh, but you might be familiar with some of the technology that would be classified as wireless mesh, because now people are trying to put wireless mesh, or they will call me to install or set up a wireless mesh network that they purchase, right? Google has a very good one. Let me look up the name of it so I can tell you and not lie to you. What is the name? So maybe it's Google Mesh. Let me see here. I hate when I'm typing and talking to you guys at the same time. But Google Mesh, Google Mesh Network is those little round access points. You can pick them up at Walmart or Costco, Amazon maybe, and Newegg, and they come in a pack of 3, and you can probably add like 2 more to it to extend it. That is known as a wireless mesh network. So the reason why it's a mesh, imagine what a mesh is, okay, so let me give you the synopsis. So there's a couple of ways I can approach the explanation of a mesh network or wireless mesh network, but I'm trying to start for you from the beginning. So other tech people might agree and disagree with me, but I'm going to tie this into the internet itself. See, network is really a way of computers to communicate with each other, right? So there's a lot of things that take place within that communication, but it's one device talking to another device, right? Sending information back and forth to devices. So the internet itself, and this is not a deep dive into the history of the internet, but I'm going to tell you how we came about. So when they came up with the H-bomb, right? No, the H-bomb, not H-bomb, I'm lying. The nuclear bomb, right? They wanted a way to be able to communicate with different departments in the military or the government. They want to be able to open a line of communication regardless of the destruction. All right, so say the bomb was ever dropped, the existing communicating system that had at the time was just evolution from the telegraph, where they used to like click on the buttons and it would send signals, and people who could read the telegraph would decode it and then read it out. That's just like that evolved to like phone, where it's like two-way communication where you can talk and then hear the person talk to you in real time. And then that was what they had as far as communication. That wasn't a very good communication, because that's just a line connected to another line. If that line goes down or is severed, that ends the communication. There's no way for you to communicate. So what they tried to come up with was a way for it to be able to be rerouted to another way, to reconnect, to have a reconnection. That's what the internet does. The internet has a lot of routers all over the place. So say the connection between A and B router is not working anymore. They have to come up with a different way of doing it. So instead of going from A to B, it'll go to A to C or A to D, and that's how it will communicate. That's what the internet, and that's how the internet is set up. So when you're talking about mesh routers or mesh wireless access point, is that concept in a wireless topology or a networking topology. So consider a 5-pointed star where there's a connection, but everything is connected to everything else. So in this network where, like, for instance, for instance your Google Mesh network, you have those 3 white circular access points, and say you add 2 more to it. One of them is connected to your router, and then you place the other ones all over the house, which expands your wireless coverage. But the beautiful thing about it, so you have access point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Access point 7 can communicate with all the other 6 access points. It's not only communicating with the one that's connected to the router. So it's not one straight connection. If it can't communicate with the router itself, with the one that's connected to it, can't communicate with access point 1, it can communicate with the one that's closest to it. So it can communicate with access point 5 or access point 4, and it will get this information that it needs. If the connection between access point 4 should fail, it'll just go to 5 or it'll go to 3, and it'll get the information from there. So there's multiple points of getting the information it needs instead of just one point of failure. So there's multiple point of failure, which means that if one goes down, the other one will just pick up. That's how the internet is, and that's the same concept that they brought into mesh networking. Now, good practice in IT, good practice in networking is to have multiple point of failures. In businesses, normally you don't have one internet source, you have more than one or two. So in case one goes down, the other one picks it up. That's a form of mesh, or that is a failover. So in mesh networking, that's the concept. Now, it's a mouthful, right? So now, if that's the concept, you have in your home or in your business, you have your hub or your router. You plug in the first access point. That's going to be directly connected to a switch on the network. And then you can place the other 5 or 6 access points that are mesh access points all over your facility, right? Either they're connected directly back to the switch, or they're connected to each other wirelessly. There is multiple points of failure in opposed to one point of failure, which is the goal. That's how mesh network works. So people use network in different ways. There's a motorcycle person right here, and you're probably hearing that in the sound, but let's just keep going. I utilize mesh networks in homes a lot, especially affiliate. I remember the last time I did one was like for a really big home, and they were having problem getting internet to all the rooms. Mesh network came handy because I bought the pack of Google Mesh, and then I added 2 more to it, and I was able to even bring internet all the way into the shed. The thing about the distance, though, if it can't communicate with each other wirelessly, you might have to run a wire to have it connected to the network. But what's good about it is that it's one network ID, meaning that you could call it whatever you want, and that's the network ID, and your mobile device will be hopping from access point to access point, but you don't have to keep putting in a different password and network ID for this access point. It's just one access point, and it's able to extend the coverage. That's really good. And so it has all the failover safe stuff. That if one goes down, you still have internet or access points that are working, and it's cool. And also they have the built-in features like your remote access, you can see what's going on with each of the access points, and that's kind of cool. But that's what a mesh network is. But I went into the whole thing and I never talked about what it says. So a mesh network is a decentralized network configuration where multiple devices are connected to each other, directly forming a mesh. So it's forming a mesh, right? Like structure, instead of relying on one central hub or switch, which is what I just explained to you. And the reason why I brought the internet analogy in there, because that's where the idea came from. TCP/IP, that's where the idea came from. And then they just, hey, how about putting in this into wireless? Well, how about putting it into a network topology, private network? And that's kind of how that kind of like progressed into, and that happens a lot in technology. There's a military thing that they did, and they say, hey, you could just put this in the private sector, and that's kind of what happened. So mesh network is a very good solution if you're looking to expand your network coverage. Remember, back in the day, we'd get like one device, and it would be the router, the switch, the wireless, and it wouldn't be able to cover the house. We'll be able to cover the whole house. So the mesh network comes in handy in that case. We use Ubiquiti. Ubiquiti has really good access points. They're great, and they have web interface you can use to configure the access point. What I love about Ubiquiti in this concept too is that I could pull one of those old ones out and put a new one in, update it, and it just goes. It just works. I have to do configuration once, and that's it. So in that case, I love mesh networks. It's a good solution to a lot of the problems that networking wireless used to have, Wi-Fi used to have, and downsides to it. Okay. Well, it takes a little bit of knowledge. Take a little bit of expertise. If you're doing it in your house, I would go with the Google Mesh. That's the easiest one. I have that in my house. I'm gonna have to take it out because it's very limiting to what it can do. So I have it right now, and it works really good. And but I need to do more with my network setup. So for the time being, it's working, but I need to be a little bit more advanced. I'm gonna have to take it out and then throw in some Ubiquiti switches and access points to achieve what I want to achieve. But if you are just doing something in your house and you have a couple of rooms, you could just pick up that Google Mesh and use that instead of just the one access point. That's a good, because remember, you would have to have like an access point and then an extender, and then you need just two different access, the Wi-Fi IDs, and that's a pain. So it'll be best just to get a mesh network to set that up. That'll be perfect. So that would be my recommendation, to pick up a Google Mesh. There's other ones out there for residential setup. Personally, I haven't really used any others other than the Google Mesh for like homes, and if I'm going like in any corporate setting or business, then I go with like Ubiquiti access points, and that's how I will do it. So that's how we will do it. But like you said, it's a solution to a problem as far as extending the network in a particular area and making it convenient for the users, where it's just one access point, one access ID that they need to know the username and password to, and then it also has that failover safe, where it's multiple points of failure. So if one goes down, you don't lose the connection to the hub or firewall. So that's what mesh is. So Wi-Fi mesh. We're not gonna go into network mesh because you kind of understand the concept, where you have multiple connection to multiple devices. So in case if one line of connection fails, it reroutes to another one. That's kind of the idea. It's just kind of the same idea, but instead of a Wi-Fi, it's like network, cabling and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of how that would be set up, And like I said, the idea or the concept really comes from the basic internet protocols. That's how it comes about. The failover safe in case of one line going down, we can reroute and still get communication to other points because of the red scare, in a sense, the atomic age scare. So out of a problem come a solution, and then now we use that into wireless access points. So that's what that is. So yeah, that's Mesh. So like I said, recommendation wise, Google Mesh is the one that I'm familiar with. Google Mesh used to be, before it was Google Mesh, I think it was just Nest. It was called Nest, and then Google, I think, bought them, and then they incorporate that. But there's some other brands. There's some Netgear does it. Like I said, Netgear has a in-home one, and let's take a quick look here. I think Aereo has one. Netgear has one. Yes, Netgear has one. Let's check out Google on the search. Okay, let me say Wi-Fi. So it'll be Wi-Fi mesh, right? Yeah. So we have EERO, and Motorola has one. TP-Link, like I told you, has a Wi-Fi mesh setup. And what else? Who else has? Again, I work with the Google one because it's just convenient. It's easy. You set up and go. It's anybody could do it, and it's faster. And I know it works. It's really pretty reliable. And again, you connect it talks to the other access points. Say you have distance though, like I did the last house. You have distance. You might have to run a wire. You might not be able to talk to any of the existing access points. So you might have to run a cable from that access point, depending on how distance wise, and connect it to the hub. That's known as a backbone. So it still have the same access ID as everybody else. It's just that it's not able to communicate back to the other ones. The thing about that one though is that line of connection, that wire, if that severs, we lose the connection. So that's not truly. So there's some mesh features in there as far as like one user, one Wi-Fi ID. So when you go to that particular space or room that's far away from the main house, like say a shed or something like that, you will have the same access point. You have to really type the username or password in again. But if that line is severed for any reason, you lose that connection. So that doesn't have that failover safe, that multiple point of failure. It doesn't have that. It only has that one failover, which is that wire. But if it's closer to the other access points, or you could put an access point in between the one in the shed and the one in the house, then you can have a better connection. So that's kind of how you want. So you want to have it where it's at least talking to two access points instead of just one, where we can reach two instead of one. Does that make any sense? You need more than one point of failure. That's the key, right? So again, it's the problem what you're trying to solve. Some people I've worked with, they really weren't worried about the point of failure. They were more worried about coverage. That was their concern. I want to be able to have internet in all aspects of my house. I don't want any dead spots. So the Google Mesh or the Mesh system come in play in that way, because I can put it all over the place and without wires most of the time, and she'll just work, right? Do we have a drop-in signal? Well, sometimes. There are situations sometimes where even though there is a mesh system in place, the mobile device will just lock onto one of them. Why that happens could be a million different reasons why that does happen. So sometimes you say you have one access point in your bedroom, and you have another one downstairs, and you have another one in the other bedroom or whatever. The access point, your phone just locks onto the one in your room, and if you go far away, it just still locks onto that one, and it will lose the signal. It's supposed to jump from access point to access point depending on which one is closer, but sometimes, especially with Androids, it it doesn't happen all the time, but I've seen happen where it just locks onto one of them, and maybe sometime because there's a hard reboot or back to default settings and then reinstall the stuff. Sometimes that solves the problems. I mean, in IT, most of the time, all you need is a reboot. So yes, that's a solution to a problem if you have problems, covering all the areas of a house. Again, in the business settings, it's a little bit different. I wouldn't recommend a Google Mesh. It depends if it's a small business, but again, you want more industrial, more robust mesh topology, and I would do more. TP-Link does this, but I would do it with Ubiquiti that has a very good, solid access point lineup where you can get the mesh in there and covers a wider area. So I would recommend that if you have your own business and you want to have that topology in there, that mesh topology, where you have one access point ID and one password, and anywhere in the facility people have internet connection. That's normally in warehouses and so on and so forth. So that's how we use it. Again, Cisco does this too. Other companies, particularly in industrial networking, robust networking gear, has it. But I'm talking about price wise, and the customers that I'm dealing with, which is like really mid to small to mid-sized businesses, I would recommend a TP-Link or a Ubiquiti infrastructure, and then I would put that in there, and that works fine most of the time. Okay, and again, you can easily remote into it, easily fix it if there's a problem. You know what's down and what's not down. It's a beautiful setup. Once you get it in place, it works really well. So yes, if you have a small business, I recommend look at TP-Link, your MetaLine or OmagaLine, or you look at Ubiquiti. Again, if people are sponsoring me, there's not much shielding for them in a way that I'm getting any kickback. They don't even know I exist, to be honest with you. I just recommend the product because I use the product myself and I love the product. In my office right here, where I have my internet radio station and I have my business, I use Ubiquiti access point and Ubiquiti switch and Ubiquiti controller. So I use the product that I'm telling you that I would recommend if you're a small business, the one you purchase, right? And again, I have there's, if you want to reach out to me and contact me, if you would like to help with this stuff, I'll happily help you with you. And I'm probably gonna start doing some network designs and put it up online on our website or something like that. That's one of the things I want to work on. One of my things to do if I get around to do it. But this is just kind of like an introduction to things. Like you might hear terminology and technology like mesh network or Wi-Fi mesh or access points, or like we spoke about a couple podcasts before. We spoke about AI and talk about VPNs. I just kind of want to do like little 25 minutes talk about what these things are and what solutions they solve and how you can implement them in your world to make your life a little bit more productive. And this really streamlines your access point, really simplifies the whole process. Yes, initially, depending on what you go with, it's gonna get complicated. You bring somebody in, they'll set it up for you, and it's a plug and play type of thing. You set it up and you leave it and it works, right? But it's very convenient for the users, it's very convenient for you, and it's just a beautiful thing. So yes, I would recommend mesh Wi-Fi networks, right? I would. So that being said, I'm Alex of Alex Custom Tech. Thank you for listening. Right? If you need more help or anything, just contact me, www.alexcustomtech.com. You can email me at info@alexcustomtech.com, and I happily, see if I can help you out. Right? I'm on here to help. I love technology. It's my passion. Hopefully, you can tell by my animated voice. This is kind of what I do. not the most social person in the world, but when it comes to this stuff, this is kind of my passion. So take care of yourself and each other, and like I always say, stay productive.